we have our ERP Toolkit. We also have several other suite apps that we've developed. And our ERP Toolkit really came out of about 25 years of ERP implementation experience, with about 15 of that being specific to NetSuite. And what we found is there were several, I guess, more utility type functions that we were doing with each implementation. And so we decided to package those together for our use. And then as we got to thinking about it, we thought, well, we could actually make this a more useful suite app for our customers and add in some additional functionality for dashboarding and things like that. So the first thing I'd like to show here is our home page. We have a dashboard that's been customized with some of our portlets that are part of our ERP Toolkit. This one here that you'll see is our KES calendar portlet. And what this allows you to do is, in a calendar format, display information on a dashboard. So here we have an out-of-the-box one for invoices due, so we can see the dates these invoices are due, and we also have some color coding so that any invoices that are past due appear in red. And this is completely customizable, so any data that you can come up with in a saved search that has a date, whether it be a project related, bill related, even if just a custom record, say you have a accounting checklist that you want to set up and go through, and maybe you'll have some dates on here that you have milestones you want to hit or make sure get done. You can have that in a custom dashboard as well. Our next feature is the KES iframe portlet. What this allows you to do is embed either a NetSuite page or any other external page into your dashboard. And this one here I picked out is nice and colorful. It's a temperature map of the United States. We can see we got some cold areas. Looks like we should all be hanging out in Miami right now because it is much warmer. But really, you just use your imagination. If you had a company portal, you could have that. If you were interested in stocks or something like that and you want to have a stock ticker on your dashboard, you could display that as well. Our next portlet that we have is a pivot portlet. And so this one is also based on a safe search, and we have some standard out-of-the-box ones here. This one I'm showing is vendor bills by month, but we also have a statistical account summary by month. And what this does is it takes the standard saved search data, which is just in the list format, and it does this little pivot. So we have it pivoting on the date here, and we can see each vendor, the month that they're in, and how much we owe that vendor. And then this also does support drilling in to some of the records. So then this one here is going to drill into the vendor if we click view. And then similar to our pivot portlet, we have a list portlet. And we developed this one to overcome many limitations that we found in the standard dashboard lists. If you've seen it before, you know that there's limitations on how far out you can scroll to the right. So I have a safe search on items sold, and it just groups by item. It does some summing on quantities, average, amounts, things like that. And then I just added some formula fields in just to push these columns out. You can see I can easily scroll over to the right. And then this also supports pagination, so you can quickly go through the pages. And you can even do some searching here. So if I want to look at just items that are paper, I have these items here that filter down. And then I can also export this to Excel or CSV. So if I need to do some additional reporting or massaging in Excel, I can do that as well. And then just for comparison, I have the same search that drives our list portlet here. This is just a standard NetSuite search. So we see for NetSuite's paging, you have this drop down that you have to come and select, and you can see it cuts off at this last sold. And I have 6 or 7 additional columns that I can see in mine that I can't see in this list. A premium feature that we've added is some charting. And so this is a very simple chart. I just created some statistical journals for my bank account balance, revenue, and expenses. And these are by period, so then we can see a trend in this graph. And this is also customizable. So we're we're using a predefined chart, but if I want to change my title, anything like that, I can. And I can also view this differently as well. So this chart was set up as a line, but if I want to see it as a bar chart, I can do that as well. And then real easily, you can right click inside here. You can copy image, save image. So if you need to embed that in, say, a monthly sales report or something like that, you could easily do that yourself. So these are the nice kind of visual features that we've added, and I think these are really neat. But me being more of a technical guy, I like to dig into some of the utility functions that we have. So one of the features that we have in our toolkit is a mass update for deleting records. So if you're familiar with mass updates, this is a pretty powerful tool where basically you can define some search criteria and then based on that criteria perform some sort of function. And what we found in implementations or even just day-to-day business, say you have custom records from another system coming in as some sort of integration and you need to clean those up on a periodic basis, you could use this feature to do that. This one here, I just have a set of custom record here with some data in it, and see I have the internal ID filter here, so I can easily jump back, edit my filter, and say I want to get rid of anything that has an internal ID less than or equal to 75. I can view these records here. Yes, I do want to delete all those, and I'll perform this mass update. And so what this mass update delete records is going to go through each one and just delete those. It's really useful for cleaning up data very quickly and easily without having to just do deletes in a list format or actually edit each record and delete. Another mass update feature that we have is our edit save. So this one is useful for triggering scripts and workflows that run on save of a record. So say you have a calculated field or some sort of approval workflow that needs to run, but it failed and you need to rerun it. Or if you had a batch of records imported, say via CSV import, and you forgot to check the box to run scripts and workflows, you could easily come in here and trigger an edit save on all these records. So this again points to my custom record list here. And what we'll see is this external ID field is empty. And this is going to lead into the next feature that I'll show as well. And so what I'll do is I'll run my mass update. And this is just going to edit save those records and fire any user event scripts or workflows that we have. And then when that processes, come back up here, go to our preview. That's going to execute another feature that we have is a set external IDs. So it is a user event script that lets you define a field to source into the external ID. We found this is very useful for doing accounting imports and things like that where you can map to the external ID, but that may not necessarily be set. So that gives you that flexibility there. So now that that's completed, we'll refresh this page and then we can see we have the name column mapped to our external ID, so that automatically gets populated. Let's see, another feature that we have that's pretty powerful, that comes up a lot with our customers, would be this clear fields and file attachments on record copy. So what that allows me to do is say on a vendor bill, say I have a bill that I get in like a phone bill and I know it's going to be the same every month, so I just copy that bill, and with that I attach the current month's phone bill. Well, when I copy that, that attachment will come over from the previous month. So we see here this invoice attached, and what we found is it's just a lot of extra clicking to either remember to remove this or unattach it and reattach the new file. So what this then allows you to do is just create a copy of that record. And then it also will clear out fields. So if there's certain fields like the memo, maybe you want that cleared. And I'm going to cross my fingers because I'm pretty sure that I set this up to do this. All right, so what we'll see here, we'll put in our amount. And when you're in edit mode, you'll still see the original file attached, but once it saves, that attachment will go away. So we see here that attachment is no longer there. Another feature that we have that's a utility feature is a delete button on record view. So as most of you know, to delete, say, this bill, I'd have to go and edit the bill and then come here to actions and delete. And of course, we have to wait for all the loading and things like that. So this lets me easily add a button to my role, which by default would just be an administrator role. Or if I want, say, an accounting user to be able to just delete with a button as well. And it does honor the permissions of that user. And so let me get to our script here. So this is a little more nitty gritty. And we'll do our record delete. And out of the box, we have several common record types that this is already set up to run against. They are just not deployed. So either your admin or your system implementer will just need to enable this for the specific record types that you want this to be available for. So now that I've enabled that for the vendor bill, I get this delete record button. And I get the nice little pop-up, are you sure you want to delete this record? Okay. We'll wait. In the background, it's deleting the record and then just takes us back to the home page. So a little bit quicker than the standard edit and then delete. The next feature I'd like to show is another utility feature, our execute scripts. So this is a nice feature if you find that you've had another vendor develop a solution for you that runs a scheduled script periodically, but maybe they also have the ability for you to kick it off when you want. I know a lot of times we've done this and we just provide a screen that has a button that says run. And so for any script out there, you basically just have to create that same screen for your number of scripts. Well, instead of doing that, we now have, as part of our toolkit, this execute script screen. So what this is going to do is it's going to show you all the scheduled and MapReduce scripts that you're able to execute, and it'll show you the script name, deployment name, so on and so forth. And so you can just pick which ones you want to run, click submit. In the background, that's going to throw those scripts into the queue to process. And then we can see here, I've submitted this one, this one, this one, and this one had an error. And that error was that it's already running. So this will prevent it from running while it's already running, but it'll let you see that, okay, it's already running, not a big deal. Our next feature that we have is our KES survey. This is also a premium feature. And this is a neat little feature because we found customers like to do simple surveys, so maybe support cases, or at the end of an implementation, we may send out a survey to our customers. And this just gives you a nice little survey inside of NetSuite so you can collect some of that data. And this is really nice for, say, marketing teams because they can set up their email campaign, and then once you have your survey set up with your title, description, all that, your questions, and then the answers that are able to be provided during that, it'll generate this URL. And as part of this URL, you'll see this entity ID in these little brackets here. And what that is for is you can place this URL inside of an email template so that when NetSuite emails the customer, it knows to replace that entity ID with the ID of the customer record. So then each customer then would have a unique URL so that you're able to track responses by customer. All right, and I'm going to cheat a little bit because I can. I'm just going to pull up my list of customers here and grab the ID of one. So we'll go with 4. So we'll pretend that this got sent to the customer. They click the link in their email to respond to the survey. And they're displayed this little screen here with their support feedback so they can rate their support. Yes, it was resolved. Got a good impression of the team. What could we have done better? Not charged me any money because I want free support. And then we do have this little reCAPTCHA here, so that's more of a security thing. You're probably familiar with that on several websites where you authenticate that you're not a robot. And we'll submit that here. And the customer will just receive this nice generic message. And this can all be tailored as well. So we do support if you have a custom URL that you want embedded there. If there's a HTML template that you want use, so you want it to look a little bit different, maybe branded more towards your organization, custom response message, response URL. So instead of getting that thank you message, they may just be taken to your company's website. So once that survey has been submitted, we can go to our customer here. And we'll see that this customer then submitted the survey response. We can drill into it. And we can see it is tagged to that customer. And then we can see how they answered each question. And this can all be searchable as well. So if you want to put together some metrics on support feedback or any other survey that you create, that's available as well. All right, and now our final feature I'd like to display here is our Save Search as a Service. This is a premium feature as well. So what we've found in many implementations we've done is that our customers need just a basic integration to get data out of NetSuite. And while that is doable with NetSuite standard web services and so forth, it can be a little daunting for another IT team that's maybe never worked with NetSuite to figure out that API. That also involves a little bit of setup in NetSuite to be able to access that, and along with that is permissions and that sort of thing. So what we've developed is this Save Search as a Service, and it is what it sounds like. You create a Save Search, and that exposes that Save Search as a web service based on this URL. It does tie to a specific Save Search, and then whatever user is setting this up, so say it's your IT admin that is maybe sending a list of sales over to a third-party system for reporting, what they're able to do then is have that search, and then I know this is probably glazing some people over, but this is the data that comes out so that it can be easily read into another system. And this is all very dynamic. So if I grab my search ID here, and say there's another field that I want to add, And I can also update my search criteria as well. But let's say it's a good field here. We'll just add the status. That was a poor field to add. All right, so now with our saved search, you can see that we've added status in. So now it's grouping our items sold by the invoice statuses. And then if we come over here to our web service, so we refresh that, we'll see that that field automatically gets added in to the result set here. So we'll see that that status comes in. So it's a really powerful tool. It gives you the ability to easily add additional fields to the saved search, then that flow automatically over into that web service. And this also overcomes a limitation with standard NetSuite web services where formula fields are not available. And I have a couple formula fields here in my saved search, and those just come in to the new endpoint. And then this does have a unique URL, like I said earlier. And if at any time you need to disable it, say you created this for a specific integration and you're no longer doing that integration or no longer doing business with that vendor, and you just want to remove their access, but you still want to keep this record here, you just unenable it, and then they won't be able to access that endpoint anymore. Next feature I would like to demo is called our intercompany journal auto balance. And as you can see in the setup screen, we have this feature under the auto balance tab. When enabled, it allows you to define various subsidiaries in an intercompany AP and AR accounts. So let's take a look at how that works here. So I'm going to key in my advanced intercompany journal. And so what I'm left with is a unbalanced journal entry. And so I'll click our auto balance button. And as we can see, we have 2 lines added to auto balance this journal entry. The next feature I would like to show is our new field mapping feature. And this allows you to define at the record level various body fields to map to the line fields. And with that, you can also define certain fields to be mandatory. This is useful for customers that have enabled financial segments such as class, department, location, but they don't want those fields mandatory system-wide. So you may not care about your department on, say, an invoice, but you do want a journal entry. And so what this allows us to do is make that segment field mandatory on specific transaction. But for transactions that have other types of sublists, such as bills with expenses or items, you can also apply it to that. And we also support custom sublists where you would enter the sublist ID in this other sublist ID field. So to show that in practice here, we will go into a new journal. We will key our lines here. I will select the checking line, enter an amount, click add, and we can see here that department and class are required, even though they don't show as mandatory on the screen. And then I'll come up here to my memo field. I'll type in a memo and we'll see that auto set at the line level. And then if I change the memo at the header level, all of my subsequent lines that I enter will now be set with that value. Our final feature that we would like to show is our transaction line count for your NetSuite tier. So where this comes into play is if you were close to your tier limits, NetSuite is looking at those very closely, and you may be notified that they're requiring you to upgrade to a higher tier if your transaction counts continue to exceed what is at your current tier's limit. So this will help give you insight over the past 6 months, the transaction types and the number of transaction lines, as well as a grand total system-wide, so you can use these totals and get with your NetSuite partner and take a look at, is there something that can be done in your current environment to help reduce the number of lines per month, or if you need to upgrade to a higher tier, it will help facilitate that with you as well. To get to this report, it's simply under Setup, ERP Toolkit, Tier Transaction Count.